Every Saturday is Catterday on Echoplex Media, and not only are we posting fucking cats, we invite all content creators to join our open panel. Visit echoplexmedia.com/panel to learn how to join. Every third Saturday is Operation Catterday, where we cover this week and last year and play the best clips from the cast of conspiracy characters that Now Space has learned to loathe. The show starts at 8 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/echoplexmedia. Find our full schedule at echoplexmedia.com.
The internet is a big dumpster.
In this world, accessible of kindness and ethical blindness. So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Bistro fraternity guy, you got my asshole with bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to decide to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. So cool, was so impressed. Lots of chicks in a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. She's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planets. Oh, I just can't understand it. Conquered divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, Sherlock! I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, Sherlock! Read into the lyrics, cause everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first. You're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with the penchant for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. She lives in a pool of blood and cry. All your friends say that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you like cats ready to gag. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bone's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The fundamental conquered divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, Sherlock! I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, Sherlock! Read into the lyrics, so let the fucking spill quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Plex. We do the show live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/EchoPlexMedia. You can support this project at patreon.com/Echoplex. Or if you'd like to have a similar experience to Patreon, you can go to eplex.store. You get all the patrons' posts and you get a discount on the items in our shop. Plus, those memberships are 50% off for the week. So until the end of next Sunday's show, essentially, all those memberships over at eplex.store are 50% off. And if you use the code Twitch15, like if you don't want to sign up for a membership there, but you do want to get some of the swag, you can get 15% off of anything. That also goes through next Sunday's show. And that is to, I guess, celebrate the new format of the show. We used to separate the show out into an upfront hour where I would chit chat with my co-host, and we'd maybe go over something kind of specific that was going on. And, well, the chit-chatting with my co-host thing sort of doesn't exist anymore because I've been hosting this show more or less by myself. So the new format is we just run the docket. We run the docket starting at 7. Most of the time it'll go to about 9, but when we're done with the docket, we will go ahead and go on into red light. So red light could start anytime. We'll usually take a break at about an hour and play a song. Maybe play a little different song, stuff that you aren't usually used to hearing on the podcast feed. So that being the case, I'm producer Dave, and this is in fact what the people want.
Police officers, they've gone insane.
I don't hate the cops. There's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Oh, when the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Don't hate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch if you don't stop throwing your rocks. Snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Like your local police, cause they don't do nothing wrong like your local police. Got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm the fearless judge that your skin color's gonna get. And if you die before the sun comes up, the paperwork will take forever. Well, it might have worked out a little bit better if you didn't hate the cops. Cause they don't do nothing wrong, don't hate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job, don't hate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder, how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks? Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops.
All right, we usually only do Stu Peters on the Conspiracy Bingo show, but I thought this week we'd maybe open up this show with a little bit longer clip than we usually play. Other than a few major news events happening, actually, it was kind of a slow news week, so I had to fill up some of the space somehow. Thanks so much again to everybody in the Discord that helps me put this show together. I would have a much harder time putting together a docket every Sunday if not for the hard work and link posting in my Discord. That's discord.me/Echoplex if anybody out there in podcast land wants to join and suggest news clips for the Sunday show or any of our other variety of shows. Anyway, here's Stu Peters talking to Ella Malding. I don't know who she is. But they're talking about how the GOP is sold out to the LGBTQ agenda, which seems incorrect.
Well, welcome to the Stu Peters Show. My name is Stu. Well, 20 years ago, George W. Bush won re-election, if you still believe in that, despite launching one of the most disastrous and unjustified wars in American history. And how did he do that? He did that by using gay marriage as a culture war issue to turn up.
Oh, shit, Stu's right.
If you vote GOP, he said, we'll pass a constitutional amendment making marriage between a man and a woman. We'll stop this poison from spreading across the country. Well, the amendment didn't happen, which of course he knew that it wouldn't, because passing an amendment is just incredibly difficult. Any politician who promises to amend the Constitution to do something for you is bullshitting you. It's not going to happen.
Oh, they had to bleep out Stu Peters. It's a family show, everybody. Family show.
Re-election, again in heavy air quotes, the GOP elite started plotting to abandon the whole gay marriage issue. 2004 was the only presidential election in the past 30 years where the Republican Party actually won the popular vote. But what the GOP elites decided that they needed.
Whoa, he even admits that?
Pivot, being weak moderates. And so by 2015, 11 years after Bush's re-election, we got nationwide gay marriage imposed on the whole country by a Supreme Court where, by the way, the majority of the justices were GOP appointments. And ever since then, the GOP elite have just given up on the issue. In fact, worse than given up. They have defected to the other side.
Wait, what?
Last year, Congress passed a demonic joke of a bill called
It's demonic, everybody.
Act, which, of course, does the exact opposite of respecting marriage.
No, it actually codified. It gave it actually one of those very rare times where reasonable people on both sides kind of got some of the shit they wanted, Stu. It's just that you're completely unreasonable.
Instead, it mandates nationwide acceptance of gay marriage, depravity, homosexuality, just in case President Trump's Supreme Court ever gets around to overturning Obergefell.
Trump's Supreme Court? I thought is that Trump's Supreme Court? I thought the point of the Supreme Court. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't what I really believe is going on in the world, but I thought the point of the Supreme Court was that it was an independent judiciary, separation of powers and all that shit. That's what I thought was supposed to be going on there. I didn't know it was Trump's Supreme Court.
Monroe. That bill could have been blocked in the Senate if the GOP was united, but they weren't. Instead, 12 Republicans voted in favor. In the House, 47 Republicans voted in favor.
Stu, it sounds like you're on the wrong side of the issue then, baby. And it's not for nothing. Even a pretty strong majority of registered Republicans are now like, oh, gay marriage is fine. Even like the Q-pilled people probably think gay marriage is fine.
Republicans line up to brag about any gay person who claims to be conservative. Newsflash. For anyone running for president or office, there is no such thing as gay conservatism.
Oh, Dave Rubin doesn't exist. I mean, so far, except for the obvious bigotry here, Stu Peters is fucking spitting fire.
When our fake puppet government in Afghanistan collapsed, you saw news coverage from conservatives complaining that Joe Biden had abandoned the gays in Afghanistan.
Oh, hey, no. Check this out. For a very long time, a lot of conservatives, a lot of conservative atheists, actually, have been using queerness as a prop in their crusade against people with the wrong imaginary friend. They're like, oh, yeah, well, if you were in a Muslim country, they'd throw you off a building. And I'm like, well, would they? Would they?
Now the same party claims it's going to hold the line on drag queen story hour and mutilation of children.
Whoa, dude.
Why should we trust them at all? We can tell where this is going. A decade from now, we'll have Republican congressional candidates denouncing Democrats for being the real transphobes because they aren't excited enough to bomb Russia in defense of trans rights.
Wait, what?
Ella Malding is a pro-life social media influencer, but she was fired. She's been booted out of a pro-life group for being too anti-gay and too America first. Oh, and also, of course, anti-Semitic.
Oh, well, I mean, come on. If the group's goal is to reduce abortion by appealing to the masses, and she hates gay people and Jews, and well, then yeah, it's going to be harder to appeal to the masses if one of your spokespeople or one of the prominent people in your organization just kind of openly hates Jews. I feel like no matter what you see on Twitter, that's like a fucking very unpopular position.
She joins us now to discuss this in greater detail. Ella Malding, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. How long will it be before the Democrats or the transphobes that the fake, feckless, homosexual GOP is calling out?
I mean, I think we're seeing it already. You know, Democrats are the real racists. Democrats are the real homophobes.
And she's like, excuse me, I am the real racist. I am the real homophobe. And I, sir, am not a Democrat.
see that the GOP has totally abandoned real conservative values to score the minority vote, the LGBTQ vote, the vote of the women, the Black people, Jews.
Women are the majority by a very slim amount, but they're a majority. The Black people. Holy shit! This lady's terrible. This lady's worse than Stu Peters.
It's not with the American people, and it's not with real conservative values. So I don't know how they expect us to trust them anymore, whenever all they do is make empty promises to us and break them every time.
Give some of the most blatant examples that you've seen in recent time.
Well, one thing that came up that I thought was so funny was the GOP release video for International Women's Month. Did you see that? Where it was like all about Black domestic abuse survivors. They put their priorities onto women and sexual abuse survivors and gay people and transgenders. Just like you said, they will do anything. If a transgender says they're Republican or conservative, oh my gosh, we're not homophobic. We're not homophobic. It's the Democrats that are the real homophobes.
They trot them out. They do it all the time at big events. CPAC, Lady Mega, perfect example.
Yep.
There's no room for that crap. Mar-a-Lago, Bruce Jenner shaking hands with Trump.
That's Caitlyn Jenner, as giant, a monster, and a probably vehicular manslaughter committer as Caitlyn Jenner is. We could go ahead and just call this person Caitlyn Jenner. It's fine. They could be a monster. You still just Caitlyn Jenner. Come on, Caitlyn Jenner, dude.
I'm the most pro-gay president ever in the history of our country. This is what wait, what? When did this become a conservative value ever? So you got booted for saying what exactly?
Well,
she's like, well, which thing? She's like, I recited the protocols of the Elders of Zion in a Twitter thread. I used the F-bomb like 17 times in meetings.
From a pro-life organization for quote unquote anti-Semitism, which is funny because if we go and look at what the State Department says about anti-Semitism, it's a super, super broad thing. Anything can be anti-Semitic. And, Republicans are now using this name calling just like Democrats are, and arguably worse than Democrats. So you're racist, you're homophobic, you're misogynistic, you're anti-Semitic. We can't associate with you. And so,
but what did you say that they called anti-Semitic? Or maybe you can't. Maybe it's TOS here on Twitch, and I'm glad she's not saying it. I don't know.
We've seen that throughout the last couple of years with a lot of dissident right figures. But it's just crazy to me that a pro-life organization would kick me out for quote unquote anti-Semitism.
Yeah, and I'll just give an example here. Ella is not being hyperbolic here in any way whatsoever. So everybody wants to, Fox News especially, prop up Governor Ron DeSantis, who's running this proxy presidential campaign. He's abandoned his state. There's treacherous things going on in that state. Well,
like book burning,
so he can run this book tour and go to Israel, which has now become a common occurrence for the Florida governor for some reason. But in that state, under DeSantis's watch, and on Israel soil, by the way, where he signed this into action, will be the first state criminalizing anti-Semitism. So if you say something that is perceived as anti-Semitic on the internet, on Rumble, for example, where their new headquarters is now located in Ron DeSantis's criminalizing anti-Semitic state, by the way, if you say something on there that somebody says is anti-Semitic, not only can you be booted off of Rumble, Rumble could probably face criminal prosecution as well as the person that's saying it. This is happening by the champions, the America First conservative Republican.
Whatever the fuck this is going to get shot down in the Supreme Court.
Firebrands that the GOP props up, that the establishment gets behind, that the globalists absolutely love, that are in bed with the Israel lobby, and that are being propped up by the Fox News channel.
Yep. Just right here in the free state of Florida, conservatives worship Florida. And they bring up all of these bills that Ron DeSantis has signed, going to war with big tech and all of these different things against child genital mutilation and stuff. But when you really go in and read these bills, they're nothing like the titles say. And we see that Florida is literally passing a law criminalizing anti-Semitism. And what is anti-Semitism? That's the problem.
Can anybody define it? Who defines
what anti-Semitism is? Right. No one can define it. It's literally critiquing a group of people. Any type of criticism or critique of that group of people, you're unemployable. You can go to jail in Florida now. I mean, it's unbelievable.
This network, which I fund actually, and I fund this network by attracting the attention of privately held patriot, conservative owned, family owned, small
Bucket of slot businesses and gold scams.
businesses and advertisers that have products that we use and that we think is beneficial to help to make people healthier, to potentially save their lives, to make their lives better, and to protect their kids, right? This network, without asking for even $1 from anybody, put together a film called Died Suddenly, which is the film of our generation.
A non-insignificant number of the people that they showed in the film who died suddenly ain't even dead.
And people will never, I mean, the critics will never admit that, but it's been seen more times than any other film that's been released in our generation. Okay, so
wait, what?
Anyways, this film, which I gave away for free, could have charged $1, would have been paid $30 million, would have never had to work again, but we gave it away for free.
Yo, that's not true, because it wasn't just people didn't just watch it on like the Stu Peters channel or whatever. It's on Odyssey, BitChute, brand new tube, whatever the hell that is, PeerTube. There's pirated copies of it everywhere. I bet like less than 10% of the people who saw it even saw it via Stu Peters' network.
Has been called anti-Semitic. A film about the dangers of a weapon of biowarfare being deployed on humanity and then disguised as a vaccination is anti-Semitic in some way, shape, or form. I mean, what isn't?
There were anti-Semitic tropes in that film. We watched it.
I'm sure it is. If you're anti-vaccine, you're anti-Semitic. If you're conservative, you're anti-Semitic. But even if you are Christian, you're anti-Semitic, according to the State Department's definition.
Except that no, there's a lot of evangelicals like the End Times people who are fucking like, and I know anti-Semitism doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the nation state of Israel. I talk about that all the time. There's a lot of End Times people who are like really want to protect the state of Israel and the Jews there, because they think that fucking Jesus is only going to come back when all the Jews are back in Israel. Like there's a ton of Christian people who I think there's maybe some anti-Semitism going on in that worldview, but it's not blatant, and it certainly isn't going to be covered by any State Department documents or any like international definition of anti-Semitism.
Stating that Jews killed Jesus is anti-Semitic to them. So in Florida,
wasn't it the Romans? I thought it was the Romans.
I guess you're going to jail for that. Ron DeSantis is going to lock you up.
Saying Jesus was a Jew is apparently anti-Semitic, actually. Just getting back to this.
But according to the story, he was.
What do you think? Look, homosexuality, it should be a criminal offense, in my opinion. Do you agree?
Whoa, dude, you fucking, oh man. Oh no. Yo, dude, these people got a lot of interesting things to say about gay people that I really, really think, them gay bars where all the bikers and the bears hang out. Just go to them biker and bear bars and start saying this shit. Let me know how it goes, buddy.
I agree 100%.
And then pedophiles, we should execute them when they're found guilty. You agree with that?
Absolutely.
And none of this should be tolerated in the GOP. None of this is a conservative value. So,
but nobody in either party is like touting child abuse.
Like Rick Grinnell, who, by the way, Trump's cultish following. The guy can do no wrong. It's almost in the spirit of the Antichrist. It's really borderline idolatry here. I could put horrible videos of Rick Grinnell doing terrible things on the internet, and people would still find a way to justify it because of his proximity to Trump. Same thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Why? Why is that? And should we tolerate people like Rick Grinnell just because Trump happens to like them?
I do not think we should tolerate people like him. We shouldn't tolerate people like Blair White even, or Rob Smith, or these people that the Turning Point USA and conservative organizations and even the Republican Party likes to put on pedestals. They represent us somehow, but they don't at all. They share none of our values. And the sole value of conservatism is conserving God. And how are you conserving God?
Well, no. Conservatism isn't necessarily about religion. It's about conserving a past that probably never existed. Right? The big thing they want seems to be the 50s, but the version of the 50s that they think happened, they didn't like the taxes.
And like 17 times in the Bible, I think. Why is the GOP continuing to push homosexuality on people? And they're doing nothing to stop it. It's disgusting. And if the GOP doesn't get straight, we're going to leave the GOP. And
how'd she get fired from a mainstream anti-abortion group? How'd she get fired? She just said homosexuality is disgusting. Like, I am not anti-abortion, but if I found myself on the board of an anti-abortion group and was trying to like bring people over to the side of being against abortion, and this lady was out there wilding out, talking shit on the gays and the Jews, I'd be like, yo, you got to go. You're making it hard for us to tell this other lie.
Something else, because this is not working.
The GOP, much like the rest of our bureaucracy here, is fake and illegitimate, and it's just all a movie. It's all a show.
And gay.
I've said it before, fake and gay. Yes, I've said it before, and I will say
Fake
it
and
again.
gay.
God blew up 2 whole cities over this crap, over this degeneracy, over sodomy. So people like,
wait a minute, wasn't that didn't he blow up the city because the dad gave away his daughters to be R-worded? Isn't that one of the bad things that happened in that in Sodom and Gomorrah?
Rob Smith, Scott Pressler, and Lady MAGA, and Bruce Jenner need to stop taking it up the ass and repent and
whoa, dude, Stu. Heterosexual people also enjoy a little bit of play down there. Don't get it twisted up, dude.
From the homosexual lifestyle, and they too can be saved. We'll welcome them into our family. Ella Moulding, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. God bless you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
For the first time.
Nope, no sales pitch. So that was the Stu Peters Show. If any listeners of the regular Sunday news show are unaware, you should check out Conspiracy Bingo on Fridays here on Twitch. We do cover a little bit more of Stu Peters there. Sometimes it's the fucking Stu Peters show. But on to the big stories. There's probably 2 real big stories happen this week in our world. And the first one is now Steven Crowder is probably the most divorced person in the world. Here's the video Steven himself made. Here's 5.5 minutes of it, of a video he himself made about his divorce. And it's it's kind of what you'd expect from somebody whose audience is a bunch of racist 15-year-old boys, honestly.
I have been living with a proverbial boot on my neck for going on years now. Since 2021, I've been living through what has increasingly been a horrendous divorce. Now, let me say on the outset...
Well, the horrendous part is probably you. In fact, everybody saw that video, and that's one video that his ex-wife's family put out, where... I mean, she was big pregnant. Like should have probably been sitting around and relaxing and having Steven wait on her hand and foot pregnant. She was big. She was like 8.5 months in. Girl, if you're my roommate and you're that pregnant, I'm gonna be like, sit down. Let me help you out here. You need something to drink? You all right? You need anything? Can I get you anything? Let me help you out. What you need? And he was like yelling at her to do chores and shit. Fuck this guy.
There is no infidelity, any kind of physical abuse at all on either side.
I don't know. After that video I saw, I'm not sure that he did never, to the moon, Alice.
And no, this was not my choice. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore.
No, it's not that she didn't decide she didn't want to be married anymore. If it was someone else, maybe she might have still wanted to be married. Steven, it was that she didn't want to be married to you anymore. And my reading of the story is she made this decision while she was carrying twins that you were the father of.
And in the state of Texas, that is completely permitted.
Every state, actually, is completely permitted for somebody to be like, I'm filing for divorce. At least for now it is. We'll see how things go.
It's been the most heartbreaking experience of my life, what I consider to be my deepest personal failure. And just so you know, my opinions on parenting and families have not changed. I've always believed that children need a mom and a dad, that divorce is horrible.
Oh, she gonna get a fucking sole custody of them kids.
And I still believe that children need a mom and a dad and that divorce is horrible. But in today's legal system, my beliefs don't matter.
Well, no. It's that you don't get to impose your will on someone else. You don't get to decide whether or not someone wants to remain married to you. It's not that your beliefs don't matter. It's that like the other party involved has rights in an agency. Steven. What a pity party this is. I didn't watch this because I knew I was going to watch it on the show this evening, and this is worse than I thought it was. Steven, baby, half of marriages end in divorce. It sucks and it's painful and shit, but you're not like in unique pain, or this isn't like you're not uniquely aggrieved by your divorce. A lot of people don't want the divorce.
In Texas, divorce is permitted when one party wants it, period.
Yeah, that's because, that's how divorce, that's like, yes, that's how any relationship works, actually. Unless it's like and sometimes I guess employment doesn't always work that way, because sometimes you don't want to stay, but you got to stay. But sometimes that's the way it is in marriage too. I bet she wanted to leave long before she filed for divorce. You don't just wake up one morning and realize your marriage is in a shambles. There's probably a lot of straw on that camel's back.
So for well over a year, in the best interest as well as physical safety of my children, we've decided to keep this issue private and to resolve it privately with the appropriate attorneys, what have you, legal jargon. And all this, one thing I want to be really clear about is certain. True north here is that my children are blameless, completely without fault.
Oh, my children, that's fucking magnanimous of you, sir. Oh, it's not my kid's fault we're getting divorced. Oh, good. Thanks, Stephen.
And so we decided to resolve these issues privately, as it's in their best interests, both emotionally and physically, to do so. Now, the other issue is, and this is something that I've kept private for likely far too long, many other people knew about this behind the scenes. Some, not all, but some of them in positions of power, influence, leverage, knew of this. They also knew that the safety of my children included keeping it private. So if you're familiar with the idea of extortion, then you know the feeling well. Now, some of these threats were so thinly veiled that I'm frankly surprised you didn't all guess immediately.
Who was extorting you, Stephen?
Stephen has a lot going on. There's a lot going on, and that should be clear, because people don't do stuff like this if there's not a lot going on in their lives. I would like to implore my audience and everybody that isn't paying attention to this situation not to condemn him, but to pray for him. Sometimes people need a prayer. Sometimes people need a scripture. You know, Stephen purports to be a Christian. I am unsure at this moment if it is my place to say more than that. You know, maybe if I feel in further defense, some things should be said, or maybe if I feel that the public has a right to understand certain circumstances.
Well, my children have a right to privacy. Now, some other issues have been, or I should say, inferences have been more pernicious behind the scenes, with demands and threats to use this information that they believe would be so publicly embarrassing to me and my wife at a difficult time.
Except that I don't think the reason that he was hiding this for as long as he possibly could was that he thought his children would be endangered. I think it's bad for his rep, bad for his image, bad for his ability to make money off of the supposedly traditional conservative values that he puts out there. Oh, there's nothing fucking really traditional conservative fucking beaver cleaver about this guy. This guy's just a racist. But it's bad for his brand. That's why he hid it. I don't think he hid it because he thought his kids were going to suffer some consequences. People in the public eye get divorced all the time. And a lot of times they'll come out like real quick as soon as they realize it's happening and kind of make some statement about it. Say, you know, me and my partner, it hasn't worked out. You know, I wish my partner well, and we're going to work together to co-parent really well. And, you know, I would appreciate that people kind of respect my privacy during this time as it relates to this matter. And maybe I'll have more to say at a later date. Boom, you're done. You're out of there. But not when you're Steven Crowder. When you're Steven Crowder all running your fucking mouth about the traditional family and all this shit, well, I guess that doesn't work so well, does it?
That it could be used, knowingly putting my children in harm's way. So to those self-styled Christians, conservatives, and allies, well, not in my book. Now, if you find yourself, I don't want to get into details, so this is going to likely be the only time I have to address this or want to address this. If you're asking yourself, hey, did X person or did Y person know? The answer is likely yes, which will be made alarmingly clear as this process of discovery continues. And it also, by the way, makes me that much more appreciative of those who did know about this and, in understanding the best interests of my family, my children, kept their word and used discretion.
To be fair, Candace Owens used discretion as far as I'm concerned. She didn't spill the tea. Would have been funny as fuck if she did back then. She didn't spill no tea. She's just like, something's going on. She could have not known and been like, something's going on with this guy. Because that's what I've been thinking the whole time. Ever since I first saw Crowder, I'm like, something's going on with this guy.
I can't thank you enough. Sincerely, I appreciate it. Won't forget it. It's pretty simple. I loved a woman so much that I married her. A woman who, despite all of this, I still love as the mother of my children. And she wanted something else for her life. That's not my choice. She simply wanted out, and the law says that that's how it works. Now,
yeah, that's oh wow, the divorce. You could leave a marriage. Yeah, you can stop. You have the freedom to associate with people. Yeah, Stephen. Can you imagine being like, well, I'm all for freedom, but not in this case. The law is a problem here. No, the law is not a problem. Yeah, you should be able to get divorced. Takes two to get married, but it only takes one to get divorced. I don't know what to tell you.
Now, of course, look, I get it. There are multiple sides to every story, but one thing that is undeniable in this case is that it's no one's fault but my own in that I picked wrong, and that's certainly not the fault of my children.
Whoa. No, dude, you're a giant piece of shit. Unless we find out something real bad about her, she picked wrong. Maybe you both picked wrong. Maybe they're both terrible people. Who fucking knows?
And I will say that what's in the best interest of my children is not internet drama, speculation, certainly not blatant or veiled shakedowns or dragging their father or mother, and I can't be clear on that enough, or their mother through the mud. And to anyone who tries it, I'm no longer going to pacify, capitulate, or sidestep because I love them a whole lot more than I love you. And I will continue to do whatever is necessary to protect my children. Discussing the divorce any further on social media or on this show or in any public space is not what's best for them. I'll be handling this through the proper legal avenues and channels available as a matter of record in which I have more than full confidence. So I'd ask that you understand the need for and respect our privacy in what is obviously a pretty tough time. And I hope that none of this has to go any further than that.
Oh, that's not what your video did. You just you just said, come after me, Candace. And I don't like Candace Owens, but never one to back down from a fight. Here's Candace Owens' response to that video, or at least a minute and a half of it. We're not gonna like run the whole fucking drama of this. Though as it plays out, stay locked on. Stay locked on Sundays, because we will be covering the infighting, not the divorce. Don't care about the divorce, but the infighting on the right is what we're here for.
Well, again, going back to the pattern, it's not just the Daily Wire. It's David Landau. It's Sven the Computer. It's Jared Monroe, formerly known as Not Gay Jared. People that are locked into NDAs and are not allowed to speak about the abuse that they endured by Steven Crowder. It's
a court just overturned a bunch of that non-compete and NDA shit too.
Benjamin. It's now his wife. Do you believe that all of these various different parties, the majority of them who have never spoken to each other? I've never spoken to Sven the Computer. I've never spoken to David Landau. I've never spoken to Hillary Crowder. I've never spoken to Owen Benjamin. Do you believe that all of these people, as is the parent...
Owen Benjamin, fucking crazy. He's literally a flat earther. Posts nonstop on Twitter about the earth being flat.
Narrative that Steven Crowder is presenting are working maybe in collusion with big tech to try to destroy him? Or do you believe it's plausible that Steven Crowder is just a monster? I personally believe that he is a monster. And that is, by the way, Stephen, if you're watching, I'm not trying to extort you. I am just simply telling the truth. There was a lot of things that are going on, and I am glad that his wife found the strength to speak out. And I'm calling upon everybody to roundly condemn this, to reject this firmly, not to somehow come up with an excuse and say, oh, well, it's a divorce, so we shouldn't talk about it. We should mind our own business. No, the way that we represent ourselves privately and publicly should be the same. If you purport to care about family values, again, then you should care about this situation and you should condemn it.
I don't care about the divorce so much. I mean, but I am not surprised, like what we saw in that video, based on the way I've seen Steven Crowder talk to and about other people, about women, I was not surprised to see that in the video. And I think if this infighting goes on more, Crowder's going to open his mouth more and more and more, and more of that fucking Ring camera footage from his house is going to come out. So if the divorce started in 2021, they're getting pretty close to a resolution of it, I think. And that might also be why all this is bubbling up, because maybe the lawyers involved are not seeing eye to eye on some stuff. And so maybe they may end up in court and instead of an amicable divorce where they just come to a settlement and part ways. So that might be why all this is bubbling up. Don't know. I just know that Candace Owens, as mean as she can be, nobody's ever going to be as mean to Steven Crowder as these union guys who he went and tried to fuck with and made the mistake of shoving one of them. This is classic.
Get the f*** out of my face! Don't tear down the tent! Get the f*** out of my face! You hurt a lady in there! You're addressing me! I ain't hurt nobody! You hurt the f*** out of my face! Back the f*** up! Stop tearing down the tent! Back the f*** up! Okay! You just assaulted me, buddy!
So the way that was cut is really interesting too, because they showed like Crowder like, oh, no. And then it cut. And one of the union guys was like getting up off the ground. So I couldn't find the video, but there was a video taken by one of the union guys, and it clearly showed Crowder shoving that guy to the ground before he got up and started throwing a couple of haymakers. I just wanted to show that because fuck it. We're going to pile on. Fuck Steven Crowder. He's just his whole product is abuse. He like abuses people. That's his whole product as an online persona. And the worst part is that his audience is full of teenage boys who are learning from Steven Crowder that the way to be a man is to be abusive and to be hateful and to be a bigot. And so whatever rains down on him during this infighting, he deserves. Fuck Steven Crowder. Another big story this week. Tucker Carlson got fired. Here's his statement on that from his wooden room.
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country.
This was like Monday, two and a half days after he got fired. What do you mean step out of the noise for a few days? You got fired over the weekend. It's Monday now.
Kind and decent people who really care about what's true, and a bunch of hilarious people also, a lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little...
Without them Fox producers, man, look at how blown out his lighting is
how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't even remember that we had them. Trust me, as someone who's participated. And yet at the same time, and this is the amazing thing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future, get virtually no discussion at all. War, civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change.
Oh, demographic change, you say?
Corporate power, natural resources. When was the last time you heard a legitimate debate about any of those issues? It's been a long time. Debates like that are not permitted in American media. Both political parties and their donors have reached consensus on what benefits them, and they actively collude to shut down any conversation about it. Suddenly, the United States looks very much like a one-party state.
Right, but you were the beneficiary of this thing you're describing. I think he's describing it somewhat inaccurately, but he was the beneficiary of this for a very long time, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars.
It's a depressing realization, but it's not permanent. Our current orthodoxies won't last. They're brain dead. Nobody actually believes them. Hardly anyone's life is improved by them. This moment is too inherently ridiculous to continue, and so it won't. The people in charge know this. That's why they're hysterical and aggressive. They're afraid. They've given up persuasion. They're resorting to force. But it won't work.
They're resorting to force? What do they do? Oh, does he think that being fired was like a use of force?
When honest people say what's true, calmly and without embarrassment, they become powerful. At the same time, the liars who've been trying to silence them shrink, and they become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some, and that's enough. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon.
Fucking dumb. Should have been like, who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? Could have done a Jerry Maguire on his way out, but he didn't do it. So, what do you think people in New York City think about old Tuckham's getting fired? Well, Walter Masterson's going to ask. It's probably going to be funny. New Yorkers have a way about them.
So Tucker Carlson's out? Tucker Carlson was fired? How's everyone doing now that Tucker's gone? You all right? How do you feel about Tucker getting fired?
I feel horrible.
Who's going to explain white supremacy to our stupid viewers?
I have a funny feeling he may have signed a good deal with Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel now that Tucker's gone?
I feel devastated. I thought he was such an asset to Fox.
He was the one who was willing to stand up and say this election was stolen and point out the unfairness of the prosecutions and everything else in this country.
Well, privately, he didn't believe any of that,
but publicly he did.
Yeah, there were all the fucking text messages he was sending calling all that shit crazy.
You need that voice in this country because the other media is all left and biased.
No one else is going to be able to explain white supremacy to our viewers the same way. He'll be missed. Thank you. What do you think of Fox News firing Tucker Carlson?
It's New York, man. Expect the worst.
Thank you. How do we
That's
feel
a pretty
about
good
Tucker
outlook.
Carlson getting fired?
Step outside.
Can I make a statement? I'm with Fox News.
Sir, please step outside.
Trump invited me here.
Step outside.
Oh, he got kicked out of Trump Tower.
Sucks anyways.
Did you get Tucker Carlson fired?
Wait, he doesn't work at Fox News?
No, he got fired.
All of y'all remember to vote for Donald Trump. 2024, you vote for Donald Trump, I'll put my pussy inside of you, and I'll eat you out, nigga.
Wait, what?
Oh, God.
There you have it.
What the fuck? That was weird. I didn't expect that that clip to be weird, but it was weird. We're gonna move on to Fox's. I think it's their most popular show. Their most popular panel show. It's called The Five, and here's Boxwine Janine Pirro talking about inner city school kids like it's fucking 1987.
This woman is a former federal prosecutor. She knew this when she was the mayor. So don't give me this, thank God she came around.
Well, she lost,
knew
thank
this.
God.
Yeah, no, but she was so beholden to the progressives and to the left that people died because of that mentality, that social justice nonsense. And first of all, she didn't just figure this out. She's known it. And she went against her core being to allow these social justice warriors, criminals, to be out again and again. And what I want to know is, did she have a lobotomy? I mean, what is different? She was a pro-crime, ignore crime, social justice warrior to the detriment of thousands and thousands of minority men, women, and children. So, and just so you all know, black on black crime is something everyone in law enforcement knows about. This is nothing new for any of us. That's why we have.
So the problem with this talking point is the person most likely to harm you, the people most likely to harm you, are the people known to you. And we live in a world that's still largely segregated, like socially. Like, you know, white people tend to hang out with white people. They tend to marry white people. The person most likely to kill you is your spouse. People tend to marry the same race as they do. So you're going to get murdered. You're probably going to get murdered by your spouse. And statistically, they're going to be the same race as you. So the numbers are the same for white on white crime, Latinx on Latinx crime, Asian on Asian crime. Pick a race category. The percentages are still, you're going to be the same.
Street crime units. That's why we have inner city crime units. That's why we have a stop, inquire, and frisk. All that stuff is justified by Terry versus Ohio until the social justice warriors said, oh, that's not right. But the people who are being harmed are the people in the inner city. And by the way, there's a reason people are leaving Chicago. There's a reason people are leaving Illinois. And one of the reasons so many young blacks are involved in crime is nobody's keeping them in schools. And as a mayor, she had nothing to do with it. What you've got now is many of the black American youths, 85% of black students in the 8th grade lack the ability to do math and are functionally illiterate. So it's
Where'd she get that number? 85% seems real high.
Sure, they stay in school so that they have a reason, so they have hope.
where did she get that number? 85% seems very high. I don't think you could find any demographic group that in 8th grade is functionally illiterate, because literacy is the ability to read at a 4th grade level. And so that's very rudimentary reading. I don't think that's the case. I would like to know where she got that statistic, but it might be from something like Quillette, like one of them race science publications. Maybe it was the bell curve guy had that information. I don't know. I'm just not confident that her numbers there were accurate. Up next, we got Lauren Boebert. Lauren Boebert, real happy about, if you could imagine, the uptick in teen pregnancy.
I'd actually talked about, just the differences between urban and rural communities. The teen pregnancy rate is the same throughout the country, but in urban areas you see a higher abortion rate, and in rural areas you see a higher teen mom rate, because we value life. We understand those principles.
Okay, so she thinks more teenagers should be parents. I think that's probably incorrect. I don't share that position. But she's just saying that because her teenage son and his teenage wife are having a kid here. So up next we rarely ever run anything from the Hill. I fucking hate the Hill. I remember for a minute when everybody was like, yay, crystal ball, yay, crystal ball. And I was like, dude, that's the Hill. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, here's Briahna Joy Gray speaking to Marjorie Taylor Greene on Rising. But this is the clip from Rising that they decided to show you as like an ad for it. If you notice, it's just almost entirely just Marjorie Taylor Greene spewing out talking points.
In a recent 60 Minutes interview, you said that this is a spending problem, not a tax problem. And you resisted pushes to, say, tax the wealthy, something that majorities of Americans support, and didn't seem to really focus on cutting the military budget as a way to bring down cost, despite being a significant critic of the war in Ukraine, et cetera. There's been a significant conversation right now that Tucker has left Fox News about right populism versus left populism. And the differences between them seem to be largely about a willingness to go after elites and the rich on a financial level and do things like cut taxes for the rich and curb military spending. What do you say to folks that wonder why you won't go after elites in those sorts of ways?
Well, all of these are great topics, and I really appreciate you bringing them up. Let me unpack that a little bit, because that was quite a few things. Number one, I don't want to cut United States military spending. I want to stop all of the money being spent in the proxy war against Russia in Ukraine. I believe that's where the American people can save a lot of money. Ukraine is not a NATO member nation. This was something that President Biden acknowledged from the very beginning. And we should not be defending Ukraine's border while our border is completely out of control. So I would like to see changes there. I strongly support our military, and I want to fund the strongest military in the world, and that being our own military. But I don't want to fund a war in Ukraine against nuclear-powered Russia. Secondly, we have a spending problem in Washington, D.C., definitely not a revenue problem. Washington rakes in plenty of money, but the spending is out of control. And again, I blame both parties for that. The federal government is too big, it's overbloated. And as a business owner, that's what I've done most of my life. When you have too much overhead, you have to reel it back in. And that's how you get your company back under control. And we need to do that for our country. The federal government needs to be treated like a successful business, not a business that's on the verge of bankruptcy.
She didn't answer any of the questions, and this was the clip that Rising decided to share with people. Some people in chat are saying they shouldn't have had her on. I think that it's probably a bad idea to have Briahna Joy Gray have her on, absolutely. But I think there are interviewers who could do a good enough job of challenging her and like kind of holding her feet to the fire to make her answer the question, where it would be valuable to have her on. She is a United States congressperson after all. We make a little bit of fun of Marjorie the Gathering around here, but let's not forget what an absolute fucking monster she is, by the way.
Are you a mother?
I am a mother by marriage.
By marriage, I see.
And my wife is here with me, so I'm really glad that she's here. Rabbi Sharon Klein.
Ms. Weingarten, I reclaim my time. I didn't ask you a question.
Sorry.
What I'd like to talk about is your recommendations to the CDC as not a medical doctor, not a biological mother, and really not a teacher either. You had no business advising the CDC what the medical guidelines were for school closures, because now we have a nation of school children who have suffered because of it. The problem is people like you need to admit that you're just a political activist, not a teacher, not a mother, and not a medical doctor.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make note that the decorum of the attacks on the witness were unacceptable that the gentlelady from Georgia just did. And so it'd be nice if we didn't attack the witnesses, particularly whether and making a decision about whether or not she's a mother. You are a mother. Thank you for being a great parent. Thank you.
Yeah, what a fucking absolute ghoul. That lady's a lesbian. Her partner is the one who carried their kid. And Marjorie the Gathering's like, you're not a mother. You're not a mother. It's like, fuck you. What a fucking absolute ghoul. But let us also not forget that she's really fucking dumb, too. She has no idea what the fuck's going on. And I have a clip from this week of her demonstrating that as well. Just real terrible, and just no clue what the fuck's going on in the world around her.
People are not affecting climate change. You're going to tell me that back in the Ice Age, how much taxes did people pay and how many changes did governments make to melt the ice? The climate is going to continue to change. And there is no reason to just open up our borders and allow everyone in and continue to funnel over $50 billion or however many billions of dollars or trillions of dollars to foreign countries all over the world simply because they don't like the climate change. Mr. Chairman.
Pretty sure there weren't taxes or government during the Ice Age, and I'm not even sure if there were people as we know them during the Ice Age. You know, they didn't raise taxes during the Ice Age, and if it was good enough for the Ice Age, it's good enough for you. Marjorie Taylor Greene, U.S. House of Representatives member. More, and now we're going to move on into like a little more kind of down ballot-y stuff here, not Bay Area news, but stuff that's happening a little further down the ballot. This is the Republican talking about House Resolution 100, I believe. Is this in Minnesota? Talking about how much weed 2 ounces is, and if this is the case, man, this dude rolls some fucking Cheech and Chong ass fucking joints. Watch this.
Says it can have, any person can have 8 plants at home. Now, I've seen some of the videos of DEA raids. Some of these plants are 8 and 10 feet tall. You can have 8 of them. You can have a privacy fence made of these products in your backyard. 2 ounces, just 2 ounces is equivalent to 3 joints.
Oh my God. Yo. 2 ounces is 3 joints. My man, this guy be rolling the fatties.
And you can possess up to, what is it, a 1.5 pounds? 1.5 pounds you can hold.
That must be 20 joints. Oh, it's you could be against marijuana. You could be for the prohibition of marijuana and not know that much about cannabis, but just like don't make those kind of statements. Here we go. Oh, here's the former president. He's going to talk about, well, I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about here. This one's a little hard to follow. Even for this guy, this one's a little weird.
We got 28,000 soldiers for nothing, and these are very good soldiers. You know, Pancho Villa. These are Pancho Villa with the bullets on their chest and everything. They don't have. You know, our people. They don't let them be soldiers. Okay, they say if you touch somebody, you get court-martialed and perhaps executed. Okay, you're not allowed to speak rough.
If you touch somebody, you get court-martialed and possibly executed. I think he means like the The military actually did a fairly good job on sexual assault. It's not that sexual assault doesn't happen or is no longer common in the military, but they actually have endeavored to do what's right on that front. But he thinks that's a bad one. Badity bad. It's badity bad, bad, bad. Next series of 3 clips. It's like we're in another time. Anonymous has announced an operation. Yeah, like Anonymous, like from 2008. They've announced Op GOP. Although this is just some Twitter account that says that it's anonymous, but that was the point of Anonymous from the jump.
Donald Trump has a storied history of saying his many sexual misconduct accusers must be lying because they're not his type.
Said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Oh, it's so weird.
Well, I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show, and everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else, and no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that everything is good. Yeah, is everyone okay? They stated it with no clue. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
Oh, and he was talking the clip they just pulled. The clip they just pulled. I think he was talking about Miss Teen USA.
Quote, she actually indicated that she loved it, okay? She loved it until commercial break. In fact, I think she said it was sexy, didn't she? She said it was very sexy to be raped. Didn't she say that?
You could have gotten Lady Di. You could have nailed her.
I think I could have. She had times when she didn't look great, and she had times when she looked better than anybody in the world. You're a star. They let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab him by the pussy. I can do anything.
Nobody respects women more than I.
That's one. They're releasing one of these a day for 50 days. We're obviously not going to play all of them, but we're going to play 3 of them tonight. And we're going to forget this ever existed because I don't even know what the fuck Anonymous means at this point. So this is just like a laundry list of Republicans who've been convicted of sex crimes with minors. You can go, if you were listening to the pod, you can go watch the video to see this if you want. Or you can watch the original video. It's all linked in the show notes. We do not forgive. That's so old school. It's so funny and weird to see that kind of branding again. Like 15 years later. We got one more, and then we're probably never going to look at this Op GOP ever again. Not because it's not interesting or whatever. If a bunch of hacktivists are going to go after the right and kind of counter program versus this queer people and liberals or groomers set of talking points, then more power to them. Yeah, this is more just laundry list of Republicans in positions of power that abuse their power against mostly. God. One of them was pretty bad. Oh, they're all bad. Yeah, this isn't really going to work with the Republican base. They're going to either say that this isn't true, these people were secretly Democrats, or they're going to say, like, unlike the gays, we take out our own trash. They'll say some shit like that. Man, I was hoping for like that, like ominous voice and like the clouds and shit, like from that "We're Coming for You" Scientology video, but we got none of that. Yeah, like somebody in chat said, it was almost like a Midas touch video. Not that great. So it's been about an hour. We're gonna take a break. I'm gonna use the bathroom, and we're gonna play a song. Grab something cool that we maybe the people that just listen to the pod have never heard. Let's go with Cat Robichaux. This is the Elephant song. The song's real good, and we'll be right back with the rest of the docket in just a few minutes.
On the day of the elephant, I looked up to the sky and wondered why I could not see the sunrise. At the risk of intelligence, I opened up my eyes and saw with clarity the consequences. And it ripped a gaping hole in my soul, and it snuffed out all the dreams when I was young. And little girls are taught someday their prince will come, that they're entitled to a life that's better than their moms, but wind up with a man just like their daddy. In the wake of the aftermath, severed from the womb, I cry, a screaming infant blinking in the light. God, I wish I could take it back like a tacky horror film, back to the moment when I was alive. And it's 7 sorry years I'm never getting back. So far along and yet so far off track. I hate the genius after the fact, and it's never better in the second act. Is there anybody listening, or am I truly talking to myself? So typical. Isn't everybody wishing they could be somebody better than themselves? Well, if ignorance is bliss, turn your head and make a wish and sing a la 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 la. You sound lovely. I'll never get never enough of. And here we are, what a sorry lot, wanting more than what we've got, never living in the present, always on.
this next one is from a couple weeks ago. I can't believe we missed it. It's from Brevard County, Florida. And just when you thought that the Florida local government meetings couldn't get any stranger, this happened.
I'd like to bring to your attention a potential fraud on an enormous scale happening in your county. There's now clear evidence of NASA using numerous methods to grossly mislead the public about astronauts being on the International Space Station. During interior ISS scenes from NASA's own live feed, the use of wires, harnesses, green screens, and virtual reality have been detected to achieve the appearance of a weightless environment.
Sounds like this guy's seen a few too many Madison Star Moon videos.
Examples of this include astronauts fading in and out of the screen, green screen glitches, grabbing objects that aren't really there, pulling on invisible wires, getting tangled in their harnesses, and even astronauts appearing out of thin air.
Wait, that was video editing.
If they're really up there, why are they using Hollywood techniques to fake the footage? Now, unfortunately, I can't show you these clips in here today, but I will be sending them to you. Outside the International Space Station, during spacewalks, air bubbles have been recorded on numerous occasions. How is it possible for air bubbles to be present in the vacuum of space?
We don't know that's an air bubble.
Scott Kelly about this phenomenon, his body language and answers.
There is there are particles of stuff up there in Earth orbit. A lot of it's our fault that it's there.
Only created more questions. In 2013, astronaut Luca Parmitano nearly drowned during a spacewalk when his helmet filled with water. This happened again just last year. Air bubbles, helmets filling with water, and drowning. Are they in space or are they underwater?
Well, those people aren't in space. They're training.
Spacewalks in an underwater pool with a complete ISS replica.
Yeah, that's called training.
Surely they aren't filming these spacewalks in an underwater pool and then editing them to appear. Because that sure would be something, wouldn't it? I'm calling on the Brevard County Commissioners to open a full investigation into NASA's...
This is another one of those situations where he thinks that like the county board of supervisors has authority over like a federal government agency. We see this all the time in Shasta County when we watch the Shasta County videos. Even if this were true.
Fraudulent practices and use of taxpayer dollars. It costs NASA $3 billion per year to operate the ISS, and if they don't have a darn good explanation as to why they're faking these videos, I and the public would like a darn good explanation as to where our tax money is going. And if they are indeed faking the funk, it is our duty to expose and eliminate this fraudulent and astronomically wasteful ISS program. And look, I know what you're all thinking. The NASA is part of the federal government, and you're just county commissioners. Even if what I'm saying is true, what can you do? But let me remind you, not only is this happening in your county, as public officials, you have the platform and the ability to make a statement or hold a press conference, alerting the public, state, and federal authorities to investigate further. You
I almost put that in red light. I'm like, you know what? Now that we're doing like basically a 2-hour pod every week, I'm going to put a little bit of the weird stuff into the regular docket. There's plenty of stuff for red light tonight. Don't worry about that. So there's this bill in Missouri. It's a pretty nasty anti-trans bill. And CNN is doing a pretty good job here, actually covering this. Here's an interview with Kyung Lah from CNN. Talks to patients and providers who are unsure of what's going to come next.
In Missouri tomorrow, transition-related medical care for transgender people could be nearly impossible to obtain, and not just for minors, but for anyone. This move by Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey would make his state the first to ban this type of health care for adults. Now, right now, 11th hour efforts in court to stop these new rules are underway. CNN's Kyung Lah has been speaking with patients who are scrambling to figure out what comes next.
We're hoping to get as many people established for care as possible because we're really feeling that deadline.
I'll be doing your intake today.
And the clock is ticking. For patients like 19-year-old Kari, a Missouri resident crossing state lines to Kansas because of the battle over gender-affirming care.
How long have you not felt like you? So when I was like 14 is when I first was like, you are not correct.
Now, some of the side effects of testosterone are permanent.
All patients in this Planned Parenthood clinic today are beginning gender transitions, a pop-up clinic to beat the deadline set by Missouri's Attorney General in an emergency rule. Established patients could continue care once the order goes into effect, but new patients face a slew of requirements that would widely limit access. It's why Kari is here before the state-imposed deadline.
How do you view this executive order?
I view it as someone is afraid of something, so they're trying to eradicate people. We are terrified. I've been afraid since I was like 15. And this world is terrifying. It's talk with us. Like, just sit there and talk, listen to what we're saying. We're not trying to indoctrinate anyone. We're just saying, hey, this is us.
In another exam room, 20-year-old Andy, who moved up a May appointment to beat the impending order.
Why is it important for you to have access to this care?
It's a constant disconnect from my own body, my own being. I look in the mirror. I feel like an imposter, a stranger. I always have. I'm going through a personal journey now and hopefully can start to feel comfortable in my own skin and maybe feel like I recognize the person in the mirror after I start to see these changes.
Across Missouri, advocates say it's uncertainty and panic among patients.
This is Angela. I'm calling from Planned Parenthood.
Angela Huntington is a patient navigator for Planned Parenthood.
I was just calling to confirm your appointment.
Scheduling patients across Missouri.
I think we have a fight. I think we have a fight in front of us.
What kind of pain are you hearing on the other side of the phone line?
I've got patients calling me from all over Missouri that are just scared. They just don't know where they're going to get their care.
Especially in a shifting battleground of politics and legal orders, say the doctors and nurses.
You want to believe people when they tell you who they are or what they want for their life. And you don't want to say, wow, I believe you that you are transgender, but maybe we should phone your local politician to see if they agree. It's hard not to feel like your local politician is in the room with you.
So next what I'm going to do is go over some screening questions with you.
Kari established gender-affirming care in this visit. Rejected by some family members, Kari says he fled Tennessee a year ago and is ready to move again, unsure of what happens next in Missouri.
I can't live in any state that won't let me be who I am. I have a 24-hour plan of, well, if they do this, you have to leave in those 24 hours. Like, clothes already packed.
Man, kids got bug out bags and shit. That's bad.
I just feel like a refugee in my own state, in my own country.
Kari, Andy, and other Missouri patients are actually waiting for the outcome of a hearing that is happening as we speak, Bianna. This hearing is to hear a lawsuit that's been filed by the ACLU of Missouri and Lambda Legal. The attempt here is to try to stop this emergency rule from going into effect. If this lawsuit fails, it goes into effect at the stroke of midnight. And what's happening, Bianna, at these clinics behind me, they're seeing their very last new patients before the rule goes into effect. Bianna?
Yeah, we saw some of that in that very powerful piece. Thank you so much, Kyungwa.
So, yeah, this is bad. I mean, the parallels to the anti-abortion choice movement are kind of uncanny, right? Like, it's pretty clear that, this one's especially bad, too, because it's by executive order. Just one person decided it. Didn't go through the legislature. No debate happened in the legislature. Nobody got embarrassed for saying something stupid about it. Like in other legislatures that we've seen, it's just the governor issuing an executive order. Not for nothing. A lot of the people that probably voted for that governor don't like it when the president's a Democrat anyway and issues an executive order. Remember they called Obama a dictator all the time over executive orders? Well, now they got an executive order they like, so probably not going to be too many conservatives calling the governor there a dictator. So this is Peoria, Illinois. They're going to vote down. They voted down transphobic bathroom policy, but one member on the board of Education didn't like it.
Ms. Hill, any items that you'd like to readdress this evening?
I would. With regard to the vote tonight to not set policy, it saddens me. It really breaks my heart. I think that our district is going down a very dark road morally. I think it's just wrong. I would advise parents to use their vouchers elsewhere. I don't endorse PUSD anymore. I can't. I would advise that parents
and don't run for re-election.
Have the ability at this time to take their vouchers, which have been given to them, and use them in private schools, use them online, homeschool your kids, choose the curriculum, choose what happens with their livelihoods, what's going to happen with them in the future. Public education isn't going in the right direction. This is not what I want to see for our district. This saddens me. I'm just recommending parents take, and then teachers are leaving. And that's fine. That's fine. I have a right to speak my voice, and I have to respect, people have to respect what I say, and I also think that God is not blessing this district. He isn't. I don't know what more to say. I'm just very brokenhearted about this, but I can't endorse our district anymore. I can't.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Davidson, Ms. Sari, I apologize. So readdressing a...
So yeah, that person, I guess they're going to resign. They're not going to resign though, right? Because they're probably going to run for re-election. They might even win. I don't know how it works in Peoria, Illinois. If it's like by districts, maybe she's in the conservative part of town where the people agree with her. She did get a smattering of applause from the gallery. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? So this person, her name is Kelly Cadigan. She kind of just showed up like on my Twitter for you. At first I thought it might be satire, but I took a closer look and no, this is not satire. This is Kelly Cadigan. She is a trans woman, or I believe her to be a trans woman. She says she's a trans woman, and I believe her. Here's what she has to say about the pride flag and why she's going to burn it.
So it's day 13 of being on the right, and today I'm going to be burning the pride flag.
Oh, that's plastic.
Speaking my political truth, I've been met with nothing but cult-like ideology from the left, and I'm not okay with that. It is not hate speech for me to say that minors should not be transitioning, especially...
So I looked up her backstory. She started gender affirming care before she turned 18.
Someone with personal experience transitioning as a minor. It is not hate speech for me to say that your pronouns are conditional. Anyone in America that has freedom of speech can call me a he, him, and that's their right, even if it upsets me. It is not hate speech for me to say non-binary people are not the same thing as transgender people.
Okay, but it is your right. In America, we do have a right to engage in hate speech. It's just that, like most other people, tell you to go fuck yourself, which is their right too.
It is not hate speech for me to say that you need true gender dysphoria to be transgender. And lastly, the most important one, it is not hate speech for me to say you should accept your true biology as a trans person. I have learned to love myself in all regards because I've accepted my male biology. So now when someone calls me he, him, I don't get offended because I've learned to love myself and own who I am. That's true self-love.
So this is day 13 of her being on the right. This is a grift. I don't know for sure if she's genuine. What I'm saying is that I looked and this isn't satire. This is a grift. She's like I think she's the next pick me. And if they pick her, it's not going to be for very long.
That's true self-acceptance. And I don't think that's what this flag stands for anymore. This flag doesn't stand for equality for everyone. This flag stands for you're going to agree to what we say, no matter how many times we change the meaning of this flag. And if you don't, you're a bigot. Well, if my own community is going to call me a bigot, I'm not going to stand for my...
She blanked out one of the letters in the word bigot on the overlay.
I'm done with this community. I'm still a trans woman.
Please burn that plastic flag indoors.
And I'll own that.
No, I'm just kidding. You shouldn't burn anything indoors.
But in terms of the LGBTQIA whatever community, I'm done with it. And no, this is not hate. This is me making a statement. This means everything to me. The burning of this flag means I'm leaving this cult. And from now on, this is the flag I'm standing for.
You have it backwards.
This is my community. Because this country is what gave me the right to transition and be who I am. So this is the flag I'm going to stand for. America.
All right, let's get this fucking out.
That's plastic. You shouldn't look at... Oh, God. She burned a plastic flag. At least she burned it outside. Safety first. Up next, we have... There's a teacher named Paulo. Has flown a rainbow flag. I believe he's a teacher at a Catholic school. And all these people outside, all these people at the Catholic school, not too pleased. And also, this is in, I believe, New York City, of all places.
All you want.
You are enjoying
They're laughing at them, maybe.
And you're smiling.
It's a nice fucking campus. Look at that.
Bowing. That's what you did in there. You bowed.
A teacher. You call yourself a teacher. Scustumato. And a disgraziato.
I'm not going to be scared.
100%.
Oh no, they're calling him a pedophile. I mean, it is a Catholic church, but like, come on. I mean, they have the right. Well, they're actually on private property, so they could be kicked off, but they have a right to their beliefs. But like, what are they doing? They're like yelling at this guy, saying he's the fucking devil and shit. Fuck that. Well, it's time, everybody. Every week we have a palate cleanser. We're going to skip one story because it's just bad vibes. I'm not going to run the bad vibes story. The parent in the story that we skipped, cool parent, but the story, bad vibes. And we're kind of up against it on time if we're going to get to, I don't know, most of this stuff by 9 p.m. Pacific. But here's our palate cleanser. This is fucking adorable.
Look, right there. No, not me. I ain't got nothing. Get them. Okay, let me get this. Hold on.
So if you're listening to the podcast of this guy made friends with a squirrel. You're going to have to either watch the video of my show like on YouTube or the replay on Twitch, or you can just get the video of this in the show notes. It's titled Palate Cleanser in the show notes.
Jump. You got it. You got it. Is that way you got to take care of your fur? I'm pretty sure you put a bonnet on when you go to sleep too, don't you? How are you? How you doing?
Put that on my screen, though. Let me get him. Richard, get off of the screen, though.
Why? Why do you insist? Oh, you just welcome yourself down, huh?
You're about to see his house. He up in there like, oh, what is this? I got a fridge? Oh, Derek went all out for me.
You like the house?
Uh-oh. Okay, Richard, who did you tell? We got Maxine, that's Luther, and who is this? Benjamin. Better not start fighting. Stop it, stop. Richard, don't come over here acting a fool. You see Maxine chilling. No. Stop it. Yeah, Don't start that fighting. No, I said don't start that. Hey, y'all gonna have to learn to get along. The house ain't that so big. This is rare. Richard and Maxine out there together, getting along.
I noticed Maxine leaving with cotton from a tree, and I'm like, how can you extract cotton from a tree? So I had to investigate.
Where are you getting this cotton from?
Oh my God.
Maxine.
No. You just destroyed that dang couch.
I can see the things. Girl, you showing. Is it a boy or girl? Richard.
Are you the daddy?
We getting ready for the gender reveal.
You had a party? That's so cute. Oh, we really needed that palate cleanser too, because things ain't going so good on the docket this week. We got another one that's kind of funny. This one's I called this one, I don't know how to park and it's all your fault.
What?
I'm just taking some pictures of this scratch.
Okay, but we've not scratched it.
Look how close you are to my car. You must have scratched it.
What do you mean, look how close?
Look, it's ridiculous. You're so
okay,
close.
Look, but look,
my car.
Look, I'm in the bay, yeah?
That's a Golf R too, that's a nice car.
I don't care. You have scratched my car.
How have I scratched your car?
You must have done.
The car's not touching. The car's not touching.
Yeah, but look how close you are. You must have scratched it as you were driving in. There's no way.
The scratch is too high up on the vehicle for it to have been that low to the ground hatchback.
Sorry.
There's not a scratch in our car.
You probably scratched
it. If it's scratched yours,
scratched your wheel.
No way. This, honestly, when I parked this car, there was no scratch on it. There's a scratch on it now.
But I'm saying,
I want your insurance details as well, please. I've taken a picture of your number plate.
No, but like what I'm saying, if there's a scratch on your car, how come there's not a scratch on my car? And what I'm saying is,
you must
we're
have
parked
damaged
close,
it more.
yeah?
You must
But
have
like,
damaged it more.
But like,
I'm sorry, you
we're in the
did.
bay. I'm in the bay. You're not in the bay.
I don't care whether I'm.
You've got that side.
You
just parked over 2 bays, and I'm just parked in the bay.
No, I don't care.
Look, I'm
Somehow
parked in my
this has
bay.
got a scratch on it.
Right, and she's
saying that we scratched the car, yeah, but there's no
You
scratch
did.
on our car.
This couldn't scratch his car like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
you have.
Yeah, there's no chance. There's no chance.
You must have done.
That guy had to fold his mirror in to get into the fucking parking space.
I'm not parked in the bay. You
You're gonna see the mark on this car.
Exactly.
My car's not big enough to
honestly,
hit
when
like
when I parked,
Yeah, the car's not tall enough to mark her car in that location anyway. And it doesn't look like it's from a car. It looks like it might be from a key or something. But she's fucking crazy. Hero job parking that car in that space next to the other person who refused to know how to park, by the way. Here we go. Probably not a big fan of the Utah governor's politics, but there's a pretty good interaction he has here with a conspiracy theorist.
Tell me your thoughts on the smart cities we're working on. What smart cities? I don't know what smart city. Come join us for Sandbag when the point now. It's not a smart city. I don't know what you're talking about. No, we're going. Look. I know what you're trying to do. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no such thing as a smart city. So stop making up stuff, okay? To try to make me look bad. You're really good at this. You make up shit and then you try to make us look bad. I don't have a website about this. Why do you have a conversation about it? Because you don't like to have real conversation. I'm right. You're asking me for real. And I just told you that there's no such thing as a smart city. We're developing a new piece of land for the state. Okay, that's what we're doing. They have open meetings. You're welcome to show up and talk to them. It's an independent commission. There's all kinds of people working on it. All kinds of elected officials. There's no. You like to make up these conspiracies. It's great for you. I know it's good for your brand. I hope it works for you. But you don't get to make up shit about it. Okay. So good luck. Okay. Is that a chess? I've never even heard about it. I've never even heard about it before. You probably never read 1984 either? I read 1984. Let the governor speak. The governor can speak. We gotta go. Let's go. You're trying to break it. I've read 1984 3 times. You're bringing it to the top. You're bringing it to
Yeah, the governor's not exploding. The governor's just incredulous. You're laughing at him. Yeah, the title of the video is obviously from some conspiracy group. Was like, governor explodes when asked a question about a smart city. I saw the governor kind of making fun of the guy. Well, here's some nobody to root for shit if I've ever seen it. Here's RFK Jr., now a candidate for president, to the extent that it is a viable candidacy. He's on the Piers Morgan show, and he's going to go on there and lie about vaccination because, of course, that's what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. does.
You've been opposed to vaccines now for a long time, very heavily critical of the COVID vaccine.
That's not true.
Well, you're not a vaccine denier, but you are a very, very skeptical, very public voice of skepticism about the efficacy of vaccines. Would that be fair?
What I've said is vaccines, I'm not anti-vaccine. I think vaccines should be subject to the same level of rigorous testing as other medications. And that is the only thing, my only position. Listen, I fought to get mercury out of fish for 40 years, and nobody called me anti-fish. I'm not anti-vaccines just because I want safe vaccines. And I think everybody wants safe vaccines. And as we all now recognize, the COVID vaccines were neither safe nor effective.
Untrue.
Hang on. That is, as you know, heavily disputed by a lot of top scientists who say that comparative to other vaccines, it was very safe. Obviously, like all vaccines, it's had issues. Obviously, they had to move at the speed of light because it was a novel virus that was killing a lot of people. But it wasn't an unsafe vaccine. But all vaccines, unfortunately, have side effects for a certain percentage of people that take them.
So the thing left out there is all medical procedures and all drugs have side effects. Tylenol has side effects. Ibuprofen has side effects. sometimes if you break your arm, sometimes they'll set it wrong. I guess it's not a side effect, but it's a problem with the procedure. Like, there's no perfect medical procedure. There's no perfect drug. So they just nirvana fallacy this shit. They just keep doing it. And I don't know if the people who interview RFK Jr. that are kind of hostile or don't believe him, don't know what their nirvana fallacy is. I don't know what's going on with this. Why they don't just tell him that, like, there's no medical procedure that's perfect. So what's the problem here?
Well, that of course the question, Piers. The side effects on this vaccine. The vaccine, number one, they avert more problems than they cause. I would argue that the science is very clear right now that they cause a lot more problems than they averted. And if you look at the countries that did not vaccinate, they had the lowest death rates. They had the lowest COVID and infection rates. And if you look at the Johns Hopkins data, which is the data everybody relies on, there's a direct correlation between excess deaths in nations, in the Western nations, that heavily vaccinated and the level of COVID vaccination. So if you look at excess deaths, how many people died that shouldn't have died at the end?
So when he says excess deaths, he doesn't mean from COVID or from the vaccine. He just means what we think are excess deaths, which is kind of hard to quantify anyway.
End of the year. The vaccine cause is associated, because we don't know, we can't say cause because it's a correlation. But the deaths in the nations that heavily vaccinated, which were much higher than those that didn't. I'll give you an example. We in our country, we're one of the most heavily vaccinated countries in the world. We also had the highest COVID death rate in the world. So we have 4.2% of the global population. We have 16% of the COVID deaths. That's not a success story. How can anybody point to that and say, unfortunately, the vaccines were a benefit?
Listen, we've run out of time.
Well, but there are other factors besides vaccination. A lot of the COVID deaths happened before we even had vaccination. People were refusing to wear masks. The spread of COVID was pretty bad here in the United States because people weren't staying home. People were yelling at the fucking cashier about the masks. The vaccines were like part of a bigger plan, and the United States didn't get on the bigger plan. And he's probably just talking about shots 1 and 2. As far as the boosters go, the United States, we didn't really vaccinate at a very high rate. Here's another one about vaccines, but this time there is someone to root for. This is actually pretty great. There's this guy, Lawrence Fox, who I didn't even know who the fuck he was until Elon took over Twitter and my For You tab got fucking polluted with every right-wing ghoul in the world. So he's on the GB News, which is sort of like Newsmax, I guess, but in the UK. He has on a vaccine proponent, probably a medical expert of some kind. I didn't look into his guest's background, and the guest handles this pretty well.
Also with me is Dr. Bharat Pankhania, Senior Clinical Lecturer at University of Exeter Medical School. Good evening. What are your thoughts on what you're hearing, Doctor?
I sometimes wonder why you exist, to be honest with you, because a lot of these things that you spew out just send things that are worrisome to people, not verified, not factual. You just have your own agenda, and that's what I think. You are just spewing out your biased views. That's how I feel about you.
I wasn't asking what you felt.
More people need to go on these shows just guns a-blazing and be like, you're a fucking liar. That's what I have to say about all this. Because I know medical professionals don't want to do that. That's not their job. They're not trained to do that. They're not media personalities, but fucking shout out to that guy. Just fucking go right after that guy. So up next we got we'll call her Rapture Susan here. And she's going to tell us about her rapture dreams.
Thousands of people all over the world are having rapture dreams right now. I happen to be one of them, so I thought I would share mine. It's very brief, but it impacted me so powerfully. It happened about 3 weeks ago. My husband and I and my daughter were driving down the road. It was at night, and I heard fireworks going off. So I looked out the right side of the car, and I saw fireworks, and they were beautiful. But then I noticed something to the left. It was a bright white light that was shining through the darkness. I immediately knew it was Jesus. So I grabbed my daughter's hand because I knew what was coming next. And sure enough, as I'm holding her hand, all of a sudden, I started to feel a pull. It was like a magnet was pulling me up out of the car. And then I woke up. So I was a little disappointed because I thought it was real. I even asked my husband, are we really still here? Because I really felt like I was out of here. But I'm sharing all that to say this. If you are having rapture dreams, share them. People need to hear them because Jesus is coming and he's warning his people. And we are supposed to be warning others because we want to take as many people as we can with us when we go. So share Jesus with other
Fuck yeah, lady. The rent will go down.
people. Share your dreams with other people. Comment on the video because I would actually love to hear your rapture dreams. Very interesting. Yeah, share them. And have a blessed day.
You too, I guess. Share your rapture dreams with the world, everybody. Share them. I didn't even look to see if that was satire or not, honestly. It was pretty funny, so I was just like, whatever. I didn't know Tony Perkins was still around, but here is a Tony Perkins talking about, well, I'll let you hear what he's talking about here.
So we go back about 10 years to where we're trying to work through this term evangelical, which had become like silly putty. I mean, it meant different things to different people. The media was using it oftentimes as a pejorative, but it really didn't mean anything. And for you in particular, as you look at, you know, an evangelical should mean something. It should mean that you believe the Bible, that you're saved by faith through grace. But that wasn't what it was meaning anymore, the self-described evangelical. So we looked for another term. And that term is?
Sage God.
All right, there it is. So tell us about it.
Yeah, you know, just in playing around with the data, I was trying to look at different segments in the voting population, particularly for people of faith. And one of the things that popped out of the information was that there's a group of people who are driven by their faith, but because of their faith, they're driven to be involved in politics.
So they're not here because they like politics.
Nope. No.
So I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not here because I like politics. I'm here because of my faith, and it compels me to address the issues around me.
Yeah, the whole idea behind it is because I'm a follower of Christ, I'm called to be involved in every aspect of life, whether I like it or not. Because if I love him, I've got to love people. And if I want to love people, I have to be involved everywhere people are.
Right.
So that's politics as well as a lot of other areas, education, business, you name it.
So Christian dominionism is what he's talking about. They're Christian dominionists, where they think Christianity should control all dominions of life. That's what that is. More recently, though, it's just turned into like Christian nationalism. Usually a white Christian nationalism, but it's Christian nationalism, and you don't even have to be a Christian to be a Christian nationalist, which is kind of odd. There's a lot of Christian nationalists who aren't necessarily practicing Christians. Here's somebody going to put a little bit finer a point on it. Here's one Mr. Sean Fucked. Almost everything bad in our society seems to be coming out of Shasta County, and Sean Fucked here is no exception to that rule.
It's all part of the king coming back. That's what we're practicing for. That's why hell hates it that we're worshiping at every capital across America. That's why we get called, well, you're a Christian nationalist. You want the kingdom to be the government. Yes. You want God to come and overtake the government. Yes.
Well, you don't want God to come take over the government. You want people who agree with you to take over the government, and then to oppress people like me and like many of the people who are probably listening to this show and watching live.
Just to be the only ones that, yes, we do. We wouldn't be a disciple of Jesus if we didn't believe that.
Plenty of religious people don't believe that.
Control of everything. We want believers to be the ones writing the laws. Yes, guilty as charged. I mean, it's funny when I meet Christians where I'm like, I'm like, have you read the Great Commission? Like, this is actually what we want. Guilty.
Well, I'm glad this motherfucker meets other Christians who are like, dude, I'm not down for all that shit. Because most Christians aren't down for all that shit. They're just not. Most people who self-identify as Christians are just not these wackadoodles. And more of them are speaking up. We cover more and more of that on this show. We got more and more priests and pastors going to these school board meetings, board of supervisors meetings, city council meetings, being like, nah, nope. And that's good because atheists like me, or even like incredibly like secular Christian people or whatever, aren't really going to convince the true believers. But I feel like if like a popular local pastor comes through the fucking board of supervisors meeting, he or she might be able to peel a few people off. Certainly more likely than me being able to do it. So at the beginning we were like, yeah, Candace, get him. Now we're going to be like, okay, well, we remember why we don't like Candace Owens. Here's why we don't like Candace Owens.
What's a gay cruise?
Does she mean like a gay cruise spot?
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about when I book holidays. I'm not like, hey, I want to go on a straight cruise, or I want to go on a straight holiday. I want to go to a straight place.
The reason for a while the gay people had their own cruises was because maybe if you went on a cruise, like a Disney cruise or whatever, and you were with your husband or your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever, you were holding hands, maybe people would homophobia you. So they were like, well, the cruise companies were like, well, there's a market here. We'll go ahead and market a gay cruise, see how it goes. And it went real well.
In Antigua with my children, I'm wondering, what the hell is a gay cruise? Why would you feel the need, if you're in a gay relationship, right, to book a gay cruise? Seems like maybe some other stuff goes on this.
I would definitely only go on a gay cruise if I wasn't in a relationship.
This cruise that that you're guaranteed that if you go on a gay cruise, that some things are implied. I'm going to assume, I don't know, I'm just guessing here, that there's a lot of orgies that take place.
You think people don't get their fuck on a regular cruise? I'm sorry, I don't mean that gay people aren't regular. I mean just a standard cruise, a cruise that isn't particularly or specifically marketed to gay people. I think people aren't having group sex on that cruise?
On gay cruises. And I feel like my guess would be kind of accurate given the facts that the second Benjamin, they met him on this gay cruise and they really liked each other. But Benjamin was in a relationship, second Benjamin was already in a relationship back in Canada, but he decided after this wonderful gay cruise with Ben and Mitch that he was going to end that relationship and follow his heart and be with these other two in a throuple. Seems totally normal, guys. Totally normal way to meet someone on a gay cruise. Totally normal to want to be in a throuple. And then it therefore makes total normal sense that the state would then award you with a child. Welcome to America, where everything is upside down.
So she read a story about some guy that went on a cruise, left his husband for a couple he met on the cruise. Okay, weird shit happens. I don't know. I'd be upset if that was my husband, but I don't know. Maybe why didn't his husband go on the cruise? Who knows? Anyway, gay cruises are fine. I bet the music's better. We always have the best music. Anyway, here's a very sweaty Matt Walsh at the Young Americans for Freedom something or another, and I don't know what he's talking about, but man, he's a very sweaty Matt Walsh. Maybe I don't know, maybe take off the long sleeve shirt, dress for the heat, dress for the lights.
The left tells us that gender is a social construct.
Gender is a social construct.
They reject the idea that women must necessarily have any particular feeling or thought or taste or preference. So if gender is an artificial construct and our physical features have no bearing on our identity as man or woman,
he might just have the flu.
A woman anyway. A woman in that case would not be defined by her feelings, her thoughts, her ideas, her preferences, her body, her reproductive organs, her DNA, her chromosome. Well, what is she defined by? What is she?
But those things can all be things that an individual woman says makes her a woman, but she doesn't have to exclude other people from that.
Can anyone answer that? See, when a man says that he's a woman, he's now made it so that that phrase means nothing. It doesn't mean anything to be a woman. He might as well say that he's a who's a what's it or a thingamadoodle. It's just a word. It means nothing anymore. This is the real harm that this transgenderism nonsense has caused.
To who?
Not only does it foment confusion in the minds of children, but it also cheapens womanhood by turning it into some kind of abstract concept that we theorize about. So you women in the audience, you're not even people. You're just these abstractions.
But yeah, we are all a bunch of different abstractions. Like that's what our identities are. And a lot of times they're kind of hoisted on us by society.
According to the LGBT folks. Or, if not that, then womanhood is a costume that you can put on and wear.
No.
This is especially ironic given the concern for cultural appropriation that you find these days. If it is appropriation for a white man to dress like a black man, is it not appropriation for a man to dress like a woman?
No, you can go to Halloween actually as a white person, and you can be a black person, black character from a movie. You just don't put the shoe polish on your face. And don't wear an afro or whatever. Find other ways to demonstrate to us that you are the Denzel Washington character in a movie. Yeah, find other ways to indicate to us that you're a character played by The Rock. Although I don't know, The Rock ain't white. I don't know what his background is.
Why doesn't anyone ever talk about female appropriation? That is real appropriation. You've got women. You go to a drag show. You've got men dancing around in women's clothes, making a mockery and a parody of womanhood. It is like a female minstrel show. It is female blackface. And feminists just sit back and take it. Most of the time. Speaking of irony, the left for so long has tried to tear down gender constructs, but transgenderism only enforces the constructs that they were trying to tear down.
No, this is all like, it doesn't even matter anymore that he's like a sweaty mess here or whatever. Maybe he's just sick, not feeling well. Maybe it's hot as fuck in the place he is. Maybe he's in Florida. Things can be like socially constructed and still have great impacts on your life. I'm thinking about money. Money is pretty clearly socially constructed. Has pretty easy to understand impacts on your life. I don't know. Maybe we're just gonna stop with this particular culture war. Maybe it only even exists as it exists because people like me are fighting back. Maybe if we just like kind of laugh it off and ignore it for like 6 weeks, maybe it'll go away. Maybe we'll give that a try. Not hopeful, but we've tried everything else. So here's Michael Knowles talking about hypnosis porn and how it's going to trans you. I'm not kidding.
Sweet Baby Kazoo says, I hope the guest is Genevieve. Well, today is your lucky day, Sweet Baby Kazoo. My guest is, in fact, Genevieve Gluck, women's rights campaigner, founder of Redux. I'm almost certain that I'm mispronouncing it.
Redux.
I've read the name of this publication 1,000 times. This is what's so embarrassing when you read instead of hear these things. But it is an unapologetically pro-woman outlet focused on gender identity. And Genevieve can...
so it's like Killette, but instead of like measuring your skull or whatever, they're doing like pussy phrenology.
On this phenomenon that frankly, as I've said on the show, I don't even want to look into, because I have been told, and then I've read on different fora that talk about this phenomenon, that there is a kind of pornography that is apparently a driver of the transgender identity that is so perverse that it constitutes a kind of hypnosis where I was a normal
It's the hypnotic porn. It's transing you.
142 and I was basically normal, but then I fell into this kind of pornography and it essentially melted my brain. I had a nervous breakdown. Now I think that I'm a woman. So rather than have to expose myself to that, and then, I'll have to go to confession, potentially my brain gets melted, I can just
you get a hard on.
Talk to Genevieve about it. Genevieve, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
So there's a lot I want to talk about with you. We don't have nearly enough time, so maybe we'll just have to have you back and talk about it at greater length. But can you just give not only the audience, but me a rundown? What is, among all of the types of pornography that lead to transgenderism, what is this hypnosis pornography?
Well, you touched on a good point there. There are many types of pornography that are sort of involved with the transgender movement. But hypnosis pornography is a little bit different in that it incorporates your lifestyle. So typically when we think of pornography, we think of it as something that is passive, that you're sort of watching. But this type, it asks you to sort of change your behavior, change the way you dress, even to start taking hormones.
Wait, what?
And it's sometimes called sissy hypno. So that's short for sophistication, hypnosis, pornography. And, you know, I myself, I have personally been somewhat mocked for the suggestion that this has had an impact on men. However, trans activists themselves will say things like it influenced them. There's a famous academic who wrote a book in 2019. His name is Andrea Long Chu, and the name of his book is Females. And in that book, he explicitly states that sissy porn and hypnosis made him start identifying as transgender.
What?
So what this incorporates is, as you might imagine, in the hypnosis style, things like repeated mantras, counting down, and probably some of the worst, most regressive stereotypes about women that you can possibly imagine. The speaker will say to the listener or viewer, you are a dumb bimbo slut. You want to be a girl. You want to be a bimbo. You know.
Oh, it's like kind of humiliation fetish stuff, sort of.
That sort of
not my cup of tea, but
insulting, degrading terminology and language, which is part of the point. It's part of the thrill. It's that it's taboo, that it's degrading, that's humiliating.
Yeah, it's that she's just describing like the humiliation fetish porn. The actors in it are all consenting, and the people who then go to act that out in real life or whatever are all consenting. Then it's fucking your business, not mine. Looks like we timed this one pretty well this week. We're gonna skip the Jordy Pete, but don't worry about it. You're not missing much by us skipping our Jordy Pete clip, as we do sometimes, since we no longer watch their content in long form late at night, drunk. We're gonna check in on old Brett and Heather and see what they have to say here. They're first they're gonna talk about the state of journalism and old Tuck Tuck being let go from Fox.
You had RFK Jr. going on Tucker Carlson's program, right? This is supposed to be matter and antimatter, right? This is a dyed-in-the-wool liberal from a famously liberal, important family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's a kook. It doesn't matter that he's a Kennedy. RFK Jr. is a kook. He's an anti-vaccine kook and a grifter.
The program of arch-conservative Tucker Carlson to announce his bid for the Democratic nomination for the president. And that is a remarkable fact in and of itself. And the fact that Tucker Carlson is, of course, hospitable is very troubling. Why?
Well, it's the thing that's going on here is that RFK Jr., even though he's a Kennedy, he out of step with the base of the Democratic Party. Doesn't matter if it's the progressive part of the Democratic Party or what we refer to as like the shitlib part of the Democratic Party. RFK Jr. out of step with all of them.
Why? Because this
troubling?
is
what do you mean troubling?
It's troubling to the forces to Goliath.
Yeah.
It's troubling because effectively, why would people who are politically so far apart be
they're not
in common cause? Why would this be anything other than a very contentious interview in which Tucker Carlson is trying to get to the bottom of RFK's liberalism and show it to be false? Why would it be?
What like liberal or leftist ideas has RFK Jr. been famous for espousing in the last 5 years? I think the answer is, I don't know. I haven't heard him talk much about anything but fucking vaccines, actually.
A meeting of unity and alignment. Well, because they're both patriots.
That's the thing. They both love America.
Goliath wants to maintain control and the illusion of democracy, but cannot afford democracy. And so...
Well, that was stupid. Don't worry, we have two more. Here's Brett used to have a negative. Brett's going to talk about how he used to have a negative view of Tucker Carlson until he was able to take his grift to the Tucker Carlson show after their incident with Evergreen.
The experience was one, so here's somebody I don't like who I think is probably using me to make the case against liberalism. And I'm there because the story needs to break into a larger audience. They are going to effectively snuff us out on the campus, and this mutiny is going to take hold of the place if I can't get the word out and nobody else is calling. So I go there because they've offered, and there's no other place that will have me. And I'm expecting him to be using me. And that's not what I got. What I got was...
You used Tucker.
A compassionate guy who actually, in spite of the fact that I'm some liberal professor from a radical college, and this person is supposed to be my arch political enemy, I got nothing but decency from him. And he was not, telling me, you see, we conservatives were right? So anyway, the second paradox with Tucker is that many of us formulated an opinion of him, and then in recent times, you'll find a whole host of liberals find safe harbor on Tucker's program. From Glenn Greenwald, who has long been participating across a political divide with Tucker, Matt Taibbi, Tulsi Gabbard, the list goes on and on.
Those are just all grifters. Those are like all why I left the left grifters. A lot of them, several of them, Taibbi and Greenwald specifically, are contrarians just for the sake of being contrarian, like to get clicks or to raise their profile. They're not. I don't think that their concerns are rooted in any sort of liberal or leftist ideology. One last clip of Brett and Heather, and then I'm going to close the show out and we'll go into red light.
A tremendous number of people, I wouldn't even just say classical liberals, lots and lots of people pay attention to Tucker because, in fact, he says a lot of stuff, including my personal take on it, is that he is frustrated at liberals who are failing to make the case for their values. And although he is a dyed-in-the-wool conservative, he understands that you don't want conservatism to win, that you want conservatism to play its role. You need liberalism to play its role. And that tension requires both parties to do their job. And liberals are falling down on that job in favor of other nonsense. And so he has been effectively making the case for liberalism, even though it's not his home turf, which I think is fascinating. Mm-hmm. But it does mean that there are a lot of people.
It reveals a kind of honor.
Yes, Tucker, full of honor. These people are just absolutely fucking insufferable. I'm so glad that it seems like their popularity seems to be waning. I could be wrong. I don't know. How many views their YouTube videos are getting or whatever, but they're kind of not everywhere anymore. And I think that that's kind of as as COVID has left the main is no longer the main topic of conversation. They're not going to be as able to gain popularity the way they once did. And I think that's good. But they're still more popular than they should be, and they can still go fuck themselves. So that's been the podcast portion of the show. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks podcast listeners. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Echoplex. You get the live show, the whole thing, audio and video sent to you. You even get the audio and video sent to you nights where I have to kill the VOD when I DJ, so you can catch some DJ sets that I don't really publish anywhere else if you care about that. Also at eplex.store, you get the same benefits, but you also get a discount on our swag shop in addition to any other coupon codes you may have. And right now, those memberships are 50% off through the end of next week, through the end of Sunday. So everybody, live viewers, hang tight. Podcast viewers, podcast listeners, I don't know, go listen to another podcast. Robert Evans makes some good ones. And we'll be back for red light in a couple minutes. I just have to pour a drink and change the color of the lighting in the studio. This is Boomers by Periscope.
Echoplex Media streams 7 days a week on twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. With a variety of hosts and topics, there's bound to be something you'll like. Or hate so much you can't stop watching it. All times are Pacific. Check out our full schedule at echoplexmedia.com.